Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Aliens Invaded. I, Chef Become the Strongest Human. Chapter 21. After calming down a little, Zhou Sheng carefully read the content sent by Zhang Tian. Overall, there are no problems with the technique, and it can be seen that it is based on my own technique. It was just the improved direction that made him a little scared. If normal people practiced like this, it would be difficult for anyone to be able to withstand this method of accumulating blood energy. And the damage to the body is even greater. If he practices like this once, he will have to rest for at least 7 days. This is still theoretical. If you really try to practice according to the method of your student Zhang Tian, you will only explode and die. What a little pervert, but there are still many places that are rough and need improvement. Zhou Sheng muttered and began to think carefully. Zhang Tian's method of modifying the technique was rough, but it worked successfully and was very complete. I'm afraid I made such improvements instinctively based on my own situation. When this child grows up in the future, I'm afraid. Zhou Sheng thought in his mind as he improved his skills and clicked his tongue. His fighting power itself is very terrifying, and coupled with his special situation and skills, his blood is extremely strong and his physical strength is long enough to fight for a long time. This is his characteristic. Zhang Tian will not only inherit this trait from himself, but also take it to the extreme. Sunshine Community. In the bedroom, Zhang Tian received another reply from Zhou Sheng. Xiaotian, my master is improving your skills for you. I'm afraid it won't be until you awaken. After your awakening assessment is over, I will personally come over to determine your talent and situation, and then make final adjustments to the technique. This self-created technique itself must be continuously improved. As the strength and realm improve, the version will be continuously upgraded. You have no problem with your practice now, just follow the instructions step by step, no need to change. After receiving the news from Zhou Sheng, it was confirmed that there was no big problem with his cultivation, and Zhang Tian felt more at ease. After all, the cultivation of this world is unfamiliar to him. By the way, I almost forgot to purchase. Zhang Tian suddenly slapped his head and remembered something important. The kitchen utensils are ready, and they even gave me gifts, including containers for seasonings. As a result, I forgot to buy all the seasonings and spices for cooking. This is not okay. The awakening assessment is the beginning of a special chef's journey for him, the first stop on his journey to hunt for more delicious ingredients in the world. It must be taken seriously. While Zhang Tian was preparing for his assessment trip, Shui Ruyan had already returned home in a hover car from the villa on the top of Janae Mountain. From the moment she got out of the car until she entered the house, her expression was not good-looking and her face was gloomy. Miss Aunt Wan, who was following Shui Ruyan, looked at Shui Ruyan with a worried expression. I'm fine, I'm just disappointed with myself. Shui Ruyan came to the living room and sat down, sighing. Grandpa helped to secure such good resources, but as a result, my health value exceeded 100 points, not even 99 points. No breakthrough. If I can't even do this, how can I? Seeing Shui Ruyan feeling so uncomfortable, Aunt Wan was silent. She knew that saying anything at this time would be useless. The best option is to let the lady calm down for a while. Although the lady is very strong, she is also a rational person. Aunt Wan left and walked towards the kitchen. If she remembered correctly, before leaving, the young lady promised her matched schoolmate to use the ingredients in the refrigerator. The dining room itself is not far from the living room. Miss, your matching schoolmate is really good. Aunt Wan entered the kitchen and couldn't help but admire the neat and new kitchen. She had thought that the young man might tidy things up before he left, but it might not be as detailed as what she saw. Classmate Zhang Tian is very energetic, so it's not surprising that he can do this. Shui Ruyan also followed into the kitchen and spoke to Aunt Wan. Aunt Wan was relieved when she saw that the young lady seemed to have adjusted a lot. She had deliberately changed the subject when she spoke before. Shui Ruyan suddenly found a sticky note on the refrigerator. She walked up and found a message from Zhang Tian. Aunt Wan also noticed it and came closer to read the contents curiously. Thank you very much for Shui Ruyan's generosity. In the refrigerator are the results of what I have learned in the past few days. They are carefully cooked and can be heated and eaten. Food has the effect of nourishing the body, and it may be helpful to you. After reading the above content, Aunt Wan shook her head secretly. This young man still doesn't quite understand that the ingredients in the refrigerator are carefully prepared by the young lady's grandfather. Even if it is just a pot of random stew, the effect is remarkable. Looking at the content of the message, it seems that it was because Zhang Tian cooked it that the food had such a nourishing effect on the body. It's really putting gold on one's own face. Of course, she was just thinking about this kind of complaint. After all, he is a schoolmate of the young lady and a matching teammate, so it is not her turn to make irresponsible remarks. Classmate Zhang Tian is so polite. I happen to be hungry. With that said, Shui Ruyan opened the refrigerator and took out the bowl inside. Aunt Wan, let's eat together. Miss, I'll heat it up. Aunt Wan took the bowl from Shui Ruyan's hand and walked to the stove. When Shui Ruyan saw Aunt Wan taking action, she went to change clothes first. In front of the stove, Aunt Wan looked at the bowl. It seemed to be beef stew. Most of it was precious ingredients in the refrigerator. Moreover, it was the best piece of meat from the blood-striped cattle, and it seemed that the other party had reserved it specifically for Shui Ruyan. Thinking this way, he is a sensible child. Aunt Wan chuckled, feeling that she was making a fuss out of a molehill just now by thinking about Zhang Tian so much. It was her fault. But, it smells so good, it's obviously still cold. Aunt Wan couldn't help but muttered, while pouring the frozen beef stew in the bowl into the pot. After entering the pot, Aunt Wan discovered that something strange seemed to be added to it. It seemed to be ginseng slices. As the frozen juice melts under heating, the fragrant aroma instantly permeates the entire kitchen. Aunt Wan couldn't help but swallow, grabbed a handful of noodles and went in. It didn't take long for the heated beef noodles to be ready. At this time, Shui Ruyan, who had changed her clothes, happened to come over, twitching her nose and looking surprised. Aunt Wan, why does it smell so good? Miss, your classmate seems to be quite capable. Aunt Wan divided the bowls and couldn't help but speak. Shui Ruyan sat down, took the bowl, and looked inside. The heated beef soup is rich and thick. When you pick up the noodles with chopsticks, you can see the thick soup hanging all over the noodles. Shui Ruyan opened her red lips slightly and took a bite of noodles. His eyes were wide and shining, he covered his mouth and exclaimed. This, too delicious. This was Shui Ruyan's first reaction, although because of her innate sense of taste, she could detect the immaturity and unfamiliarity of Zhang Tian's cooking skills. But the flavor of the ingredients itself is brought out to the maximum extent. Just adding simple noodles to it can make the unique meaty aroma of blood-striped beef bloom in your mouth. She took another piece of meat and tasted it carefully. The meat was soft and rotten. Although it was a little overcooked, the aroma inside the beef was soaked in, making people have endless aftertaste. There is the bitter taste of ginseng, but this slight bitterness turns sweet afterward, which matches the saltiness of the soup itself and makes this feeling even more explosive. Unconsciously, the bowl in front of Shui Ruyan quickly reached the bottom. She couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief and praised, I didn't expect that classmate Zhang Tian is very talented in cooking. I remember that he seemed to have just started learning. Aunt Wan, who was opposite her, kept nodding, but she suddenly noticed that the young lady's face was red and something was not normal. Just as she was about to speak, she found that her stomach was the center, and hot breath began to flow out and flow throughout her body. The little fatigue from driving a hover car for a long time disappeared in an instant and I was full of energy. The whole body is also warm, as if there is a heater in the body. Shui Ruyan also noticed something strange inside her body. She immediately turned back and looked at the sticky note still on the refrigerator. Without thinking, she immediately rushed into the training room and began to practice the body-strengthening exercises. Within the body, it seemed as if some shackles had been broken away. Aunt Wan, who was next to her, also came to the practice room and kept an eye on the young lady to avoid any mistakes. As time went by, she became more and more frightened. Even with the help of the resources that the master helped to obtain, during the special training, the young lady could last up to 15 minutes with this set of exercises before stopping to rest. But now, it has been 36 minutes, and although the young lady seems to have reached her limit, she still does not stop. Buzz. As a trembling sound suddenly sounded from Shui Ruyan's body, she finally put away her posture and let out a long breath. And a gray-black substance was sprayed out from her mouth and nose. Shui Ruyan could feel that her whole person was completely transformed. She didn't say anything, but hurriedly walked to the next room. There are not only physical recovery devices there, but also testing equipment. This kind of testing equipment is very convenient, and the results were presented to her in a short time. Blood value 101. Shui Ruyan's hand holding the report was trembling slightly. She succeeded. Not only did he break 100 points, but he even improved on this foundation. At the level of level 0 health care, the normal limit is 99. Anyone who can achieve over 100 is a rare existence in the entire Tang Kingdom. The sister I wanted to surpass had already broken 100 points at level 0. At this moment, he has successfully surpassed her at that time. Miss. Aunt Wan's voice trembled when she saw the result. She was happy for the other party from the bottom of her heart. Since she followed the young lady 3 years ago, she has been watching Shui Ruyan grow up, and she has also seen with her own eyes how much effort she has put in. Now, it finally pays off. She never expected that the noodles made by classmate Zhang Tian would actually have such terrible miraculous effects. The messages he left on the refrigerator turned out to be true. Aunt Wan wanted to give herself a slap in the face. She even slandered the other party back then, and she even lost her head at such an old age. Shui Ruyan pursed her lips. Zhang Tian's food is very effective. I have been nourishing my body, but I have not been able to unleash the potential in my body. This bowl of noodles was like a fuse, causing the past accumulation in my body to completely explode. More than that, the food itself is amazing. Thinking of this place, Shui Ruyan immediately took out her mobile phone and sent a message to Zhang Tian. At the same time, at the comprehensive supermarket in Sunshine Community, Zhang Tian was carefully selecting in front of the counter. The food can't be too bad. Since the ingredients are so good, we can't let this hold us back. Zhang Tian took out his cell phone when he heard a notification sound and saw a message from Shui Ruyan. Classmate Zhang, thank you for your carefully cooked food. It really helped me a lot. My health value successfully exceeded 100 and reached 101. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian was also a little surprised. Did Shui Ruyan help Shui Ruyan so much? So these days, the health value of Huang Xing, who has been practicing with him, has increased, but he eats it every day. While thinking about it, Zhang Tian also took his mobile phone to send a message. You're welcome, Shui, but I want to thank you for your help. I don't know if the things are to your liking, so if you have any suggestions, feel free to put them forward. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan. I was born with a special ability, which is called the taste of God, so this is not a nitpick. Regarding this dish, there may be a little too much salt, as well as the heat. Not long after, Shui Ruyan sent a lot of suggestions, and Zhang Tian also accepted the advice with an open mind and read it carefully. I didn't expect that classmate Shui actually has such ability. Zhang Tian couldn't help but admired after reading these suggestions. Incredibly, with her help, wouldn't my cooking skills be able to improve by leaps and bounds, and I would be able to find flaws quickly. Zhang Tian couldn't help but invite. I have benefited a lot. I hope that student Shui can help me more during this awakening assessment process. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan. No problem, O. In Shui Ruyan's view, Zhang Tian had helped her so much that it would be unjustifiable not to help him get good grades during the exam. However, Shui Ruyan was completely wrong. She would never have imagined that the classmate Zhang who was chatting with her was thinking about what kind of dish the flame bird tribe would make. After all, others regard foreigners as enemies, but Zhang Tian only regards foreigners as food. Okay, this way I will have confidence in cooking during the awakening assessment. Zhang Tian waved his hand out of thin air to cheer himself up. Looking at the chat interface again, Zhang Tian could see that the other party was in a good mood. It seemed that he had really helped the other party this time. It's good. I won't feel embarrassed if I invite each other frequently to help try the dishes. Afterwards, Zhang Tian continued to carefully select condiments, and then went home with a large bag to prepare for tomorrow's assessment awakening. In a sense, the awakening assessment is part of the Warriors College entrance examination and is also the first battle. Many adult senior high school students throughout U City were too nervous to sleep. For them, it was destined to be a sleepless night. Zhang Tian, on the other hand, slept soundly, smacking his mouth from time to time, as if he was tasting something. In his dream, he had envisioned various ways of dealing with the Flame Bird clan. For example, how to bleed. Is it okay to directly perm hair while still alive? Tang State, U City, May 30th. The city's Joint Awakening Assessment will be held today. Because of the original admissions rules, every senior high school student has reached adulthood before the Awakening Assessment Day and meets the awakening conditions. The first level space-time gate at number 15,204, U City, is located in Nanchang District. Every high school in U City has entered the stage of martial law on the way to the 15,204 time and space gate. Martial law will not be lifted until the bus transporting students arrives at the space-time gate outpost. The school bus fleet of number 14 middle school in U City is driving in an orderly manner on the road under martial law. Before getting on the bus, the school had arranged for matching teammates to ride together. Zhang Tian's bus was second in the convoy, and many students on the bus looked at him from time to time and pointed. Do you think this Zhang Tian would be too unrestrained and too stupid if he matched with the snow school beauty? I don't know what he is thinking. I heard that his family is poor and he is a poor man, but he doesn't have good weapons. At least bring the school's standard weapons. What are you bringing? It's really unlucky to be matched with such a teammate. If it were me. Before this classmate finished speaking, Shui Ruyan, who had been sitting in front, interrupted. If it were me, I would save some energy and use it in the next assessment. Having said this, Shui Ruyan, who was sitting on the aisle side of the second row, suddenly turned back and glanced sharply at the many students in the carriage, instead of wasting energy on gossip. The entire carriage immediately fell into silence. This was the deterrent force of the number 14 middle school in U City. Seeing that her goal was achieved, Shui Ruyan withdrew her gaze and looked at Zhang Tian, who was sitting on the edge. When gathering from school, Zhang Tian became the center of conversation as soon as he appeared. Not only because of myself, but also because of the iron pot that the other party was carrying, as well as the satchel and kitchen knife that contained bottles and cans. Although the pots and knives are cast with black dragons, which look very cool, they still cannot avoid the essence of kitchen utensils. This made the topic explode, and even Shui Ruyan's first reaction was a little shocked. But after enjoying the benefits of Zhang Tian's food, she couldn't deny that she was looking forward to the benefits that the other party's food would bring to her during the assessment. At the beginning of the gathering, everyone was quite restrained in what they said, but they were surprised that he was carrying a pot and a kitchen knife. But what this group of people said just now was getting more and more excessive and mean, and even tried to sow discord between himself and Zhang Tian's teammates. The next awakening assessment is no joke. Since we are teammates, we must have basic tacit understanding and cooperation spirit. Right and wrong, priorities, Shui Ruyan can still carry them clearly. Classmate Shui, thank you. Zhang Tian naturally wanted to thank others for standing up for him. Shui Ruyan shook her head slightly and looked at Zhang Tian curiously. Aren't you angry when they say that to you? There's no need to argue with fools. Zhang Tian shook his head. He really didn't care about the gossip of these people. Really smart people, students with strong inner self-confidence, have already begun to communicate with their teammates about the upcoming assessment plan, or close their eyes to rest and recharge their batteries to prepare for the next battle. The classmates who ridiculed him had poor ability to withstand pressure and used themselves as an object to vent their emotions out of anger. Not long after, the school bus successfully arrived at the outpost. After getting off the bus, a school teacher took them to the meeting point, lined up neatly and waited quietly. The meeting point was at the playground of the outpost, and students continued to gather, all wearing different school uniforms. As the number of people continued to increase, after all the senior high school students in the city had gathered, figures began to appear on the temporary podium in front. They were all leaders of U City, and they also gave speeches one by one after their arrival. To Zhang Tian's surprise, the speeches of these leaders were very short, more of words of blessing and encouragement. Until a man with a bald head and a black combat uniform stepped onto the high platform, the atmosphere seemed to begin to change. I am the examiner of this joint examination for U City's citywide awakening assessment, Lu Ji. You already know the team formation mechanism for this citywide joint examination. The strong will lead the weak, and the two will be randomly matched. The assessment content is task-based and lasts 3 days. Now, Each school will pass through the time and space gate number 15,204 according to last year's assessment ranking. After a simple and rude speech, the examiner Lu Ji turned around and left. The examiner who maintained order followed with the students from U City number 1 middle school who ranked first in last year's assessment. Although the overall ranking is good, Yushi number 14 middle school failed in the exam last year. Therefore, he was the 9th one to go to the time and space gate under the guidance of the examiner. Not long after following the team, Zhang Tian saw the appearance of the space-time gate for the first time. A mechanical door frame stands in front, about 15 meters high and 8 meters wide. Within this mechanical door frame, reality is like a fragmented mirror shaking slightly. After the student in front touched him, his figure gradually melted into it. What is in front of you is the space-time door, and the mechanical door frame is a monitoring device. Moreover, as Zhang Tian continued to approach the space-time gate in front of him, he could feel the intensity of the spiritual energy increasing. Soon it was his turn. He stretched out his hand slightly and reached forward. As soon as he touched the broken mirror, he could feel a pulling force on the opposite side. When he relaxed and stepped forward, a feeling of weightlessness immediately hit him, as if he was about to fall. A close second is a sense of solidity on the ground. The extremely rich spiritual energy hit his face, making him take a deep breath, and there was a faint roar in his body. The whole body seemed to be cheering for joy after being hungry for a long time. Zhang Tian couldn't wait to look at this chicken farm. No, the world of the Flame Bird clan. At first glance, it is not much different from the human world, with blue sky, white moon and bright sun shining brightly. But if you look carefully, you can find that the soil here is reddish, and there will be a burning sensation when you breathe. The temperature is obviously not high, but it can give you a burning feeling. On the other side of the time and space gate, in this time and space gate in the world of the Flame Bird clan, there is also an outpost. Compared with U City, there is a high wall in the distance of the base here. The wall is engraved with formation patterns, and a thick formation barrier surges to cover it. Surrounded by soldiers wearing black combat uniforms and holding weapons, they are the Tang Kingdom's regular army against foreigners, Zhengxing. The Star Conquest Army is to open up the road to the stars and thousands of worlds behind the time and space gate. The examiner responsible for guiding Yushi number 14 middle school led Zhang Tian and his group of students to the other side. There is also a projection panel here, a product of the combination of human technology and weapon refining technology. The examiner pointed to the content on the projection screen. This assessment is task-based, and the tasks are divided into 4 intensity standards: low level, intermediate, high level and special level. After choosing a level of intensity to accept the task, complete it within 3 days to pass the assessment. Once a task is accepted, it cannot be changed. If you exceed the task target, you can get extra points. Note that tasks with different intensity levels have different proportions of extra points. Also, if the basic goal of the mission is not completed, it will be judged as 0 points. After the examiner finished speaking, many students' expressions changed. What the examiner means by this is that when accepting a task and considering the level, one must be very cautious. Zhang Tian looked carefully at the projection screen and read the content on it. 4 mission levels, each different. Low level. During the assessment period, kill 1 flame bird tribe and you will get 60 points for completing the task. For each additional flame bird killed, 1 point will be added. Intermediate level. Kill 10 flame birds during the assessment period, and you will get 70 points for completing the task. For each additional flame bird killed, 5 points will be added. Advanced. During the assessment period, kill a level 1 flame bird, and you will get 100 points for completing the task. For every additional flame bird clan killed, 10 points will be added. For each additional level 1 flame bird clan killed, 100 points will be added. Special level. During the assessment period, kill 10 level 1 flame birds. 1,000 points will be awarded for completing the task. For each additional flame bird killed, 10 points will be added. For each additional level 1 flame bird killed, 200 points will be added. Point. The mission contents of the 4 levels are clear and simple and crudely displayed in front of everyone. Many students looked okay when they saw the low-level tasks, but couldn't help but get black eyes when they saw the high-level and stunt content. Is this a task that students like them who participate in the awakening assessment can complete? The assessment has already begun at this time. Zhang Tian crossed his arms and said suddenly. Shui Ruyan turned her head and glanced at Zhang Tian. Why did classmate Zhang say that? If someone is too ambitious and doesn't have a clear understanding of himself, and rashly chooses a task that is not in line with his level of strength, he will only achieve nothing. If you can recognize yourself clearly and make the right choice, then from this step, those 0-point players will have been eliminated. Probably I want to let the students know that setting foot on the alien battlefield and fighting for the human race cannot be solved by being filled with passion. Having a clear understanding of your abilities and doing what you can will achieve the best results. Zhang Tian's voice was not loud and could only be heard by some students around him. After listening to Zhang Tian's words, the expressions of these students from the same school changed, and they looked at the task content on the projection screen more seriously. Many people also planned to challenge the intermediate tasks, but Zhang Tian's words woke them up. In fact, Shui Ruyan was also touched by Zhang Tian's words. Originally, she was even ambitious and eager to try special tasks. At the moment, he has put an end to this thought and focused on high-level tasks. After making the decision, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan walked to the preparation area. There were male and female instructors there to conduct a basic inspection. After all, the assessment of killing the Flame Bird clan was to bring back their Akabane. If any students want to cheat, they can secretly prepare Akabane and bring them in advance. The examiner in charge of the inspection opened Zhang Tian's backpack and marveled at the various condiments inside, coupled with his strange appearance of carrying a pot and a kitchen knife. Is the student boy in front of me here for the assessment, or is he planning to go on an outing? Dressed so casually, the examiner, who was complaining in his heart, checked Zhang Tian and let him pass. After passing the inspection gate, there is a changing room, which contains brand new unmarked black combat uniforms in various styles and sizes. This kind of black combat uniform is specially made and is completely different from the ordinary school uniforms they wear. After checking the information in advance, Zhang Tian knew that this kind of combat uniform can effectively resist penetration, tearing, etc., and can maintain body temperature and is dustproof and waterproof. After changing clothes, Zhang Tian walked through the changing room and came to the playground at the back. Not far away was the base gate. Classmate Zhang, are you ready? At this time, a voice came from not far away. Zhang Tian turned around and saw Shui Ruyan, who had changed into combat uniform. Her long hair was tied high into a ponytail, revealing her snow-white gooseneck. The special combat uniform showed off her beautiful figure that was originally hidden by the wide school uniform. She had a determined expression and held a black spear in her hand. Ready, let's go. Zhang Tian responded and glanced not far away. Over there, he saw Wu Shanqing, the squad leader of the elite class, seeming to be secretly observing here. But he didn't think much and just followed Shui Ruyan towards the base gate. Time is tight and the task is heavy. He didn't even pay much attention to where his best friend Huangxing was. While walking on the road, waiting for the exit portal of the base to open, Shui Ruyan explained to Zhang Tian beside her, after adulthood, when we are in such a spiritually rich environment, our potential will gradually awaken and eventually awaken. If you are in the middle of a battle, this process will continue to accelerate. Students whose health value reaches 90 points or above will awaken faster, and they may be able to successfully awaken in 2 to 3 hours. Not to mention students who have exceeded 100, they awaken faster, have stronger abilities, and their combat power has soared. Advanced and stunt missions are targeted at such students. Speaking of which, I really want to thank Mr. Zhang for his cooking, which helped me successfully break the 100-point mark. When talking about this place, Shui Ruyan's tone couldn't help but become a lot more cheerful. In response, Zhang Tian also smiled. I would also like to thank you for pointing out the flaws in my cooking skills. After I kill the Yaniao tribe, I will cook it for you and help you comment. In fact, Zhang Tian is also looking forward to the talent of Shui Ruyan God's taste. Wouldn't this help my cooking skills go to heaven? At this time, the two of them had already left the base gate and left the protection of the outpost formation. The surrounding rich spiritual energy had been poured into them. In comparison, it is a bit violent. There were many students from U City around, and they all felt the difference in the aura of the outside world after leaving the base. There are also some students who have already left quickly, far away from the base area. There will be no flamebirds here. After all, they are intelligent aliens, and they cannot take the initiative to die near the human base. If you want to quickly find the flamebird tribe to complete the mission and awaken in the battle to get a good ranking, you have to hurry up. Shui Ruyan thought the same thing, and she said to Zhang Tian, let's jog first. This way of moving the body is also good for awakening. You follow me, it will be more relaxed. After saying that, Shui Ruyan stuck the spear behind her back and started running first. Zhang Tian's followed closely behind, stepping forward gently and accepting Shui Ruyan's kindness. However, at this time, there was already a slight roar in his body. The silent furnace was ignited, and the whole body felt slightly hot. According to the information queried in advance, the awakening talent of the human race comes from the basic operation of the avenue. In the mind, the type of awakened talent and what kind of profession it belongs to will naturally appear. That's the message from the avenue. And this kind of message quietly appeared in Zhang Tian's mind, and the furnace in his body became extinct again. That's right. Just after leaving the base, Zhang Tian had successfully awakened. Occupation: Lord Simming. Zhang Tian was stunned for a moment when he saw this profession, and then he was ecstatic. Because the name of this profession actually has a more familiar name. Kitchen God and Kitchen King. Zhang Tian was a little stunned. Did he awaken so quickly? Although he passed through the time and space gate and was in a rich aura environment, his whole body began to become active. But this speed is too fast, and the awakening profession is a profession that does not exist in the data, but is very suitable for him. Lord Simming, this is the kitchen god that the people respectfully call him. God of cooking. What's wrong? Shui Ruyan in front saw Zhang Tian who was following her stop and turned around to ask curiously. Now in this foreign world, Shui Ruyan is his teammate, so some things have to be explained clearly to make things clear. So Zhang Tian explained. I woke up. Now that you're awake, let's continue on our way. Shui Ruyan nodded lightly, turned around and continued walking forward. Seeing this, Zhang Tian also walked forward behind Shui Ruyan. But after walking 2 steps, Shui Ruyan suddenly turned around, rushed to Zhang Tian and grabbed him. What did you just say? Are you awake? Well, the profession is very special. It's called. Zhang Tian thought for a while and said directly that the other party might not understand, so he changed his name to a common name. The profession is chef. Shui Ruyan's breathing was a little short, and she stared at Zhang Tian in disbelief. It's impossible. Why did you awaken so quickly? What is the profession of a chef? Is it because it's not a combat profession that it awakens so quickly? Where's the talent? Shui Ruyan's eyes were very curious. This was a special occupation of a chef, and his talent must be unique. Zhang Tian also remembered that he seemed to have not taken a closer look at what his talent was. After feeling it carefully, his talent naturally appeared in my mind. Knife skills. A good chef must have good knife skills. Using a kitchen knife can cut ingredients more easily and is twice as strong. Heat. Of course, a good chef can control the heat well, have stronger fire control ability, and greatly increase the intensity of baking ingredients. Zhang Tian sensed these 2 talents and couldn't help but his eyes lit up. My talents are knife skills and fire. Using a kitchen knife and fire on ingredients can get twice the result with half the effort. It turns out to be dual talents. Unfortunately, it is not a talent for combat power, but the ability to adapt to the chef. Shui Ruyan shook her head with some pity. Seeing Shui Ruyan's appearance, Zhang Tian asked, so, isn't your talent very good? Shui Ruyan was stunned for a moment, then reacted immediately and shook her head quickly. No, I just said the wrong thing. It may be a pity from my point of view, but it is the best for classmate Zhang. Your dream is to be a good chef, and now you have awakened to the unique profession of chef and the talents that are suitable for chefs. I should be happy for you. Plus your cooking ability is so strong, you will definitely fulfill your dream and become the best chef in the world. Shui Ruyan's words came from the bottom of her heart. She was able to conduct the awakening assessment with a foundation of over 100 points, and most of the credit went to Zhang Tian in front of her. Hearing that Shui Ruyan agreed with his idea, Zhang Tian also smiled. Leave the logistics of this assessment to me. I guarantee that you will eat and drink well. By the way, please give me some suggestions to help me improve my cooking skills. Shui Ruyan smiled and stretched out her white palms to signal Zhang Tian, happy cooperation. With a snap, Zhang Tian high-fived Shui Ruyan, happy cooperation. Afterwards, Shui Ruyan and Zhang Tian quickened their pace, moving away from the outpost. Shortly after the two left, Wu Shanqing secretly walked out from a short distance away, looked at the direction they left, and motioned to the people around him. The teammates matched with Wu Shanqing nodded to express their understanding and followed the direction Shui Ruyan and Zhang Tian left. After sending someone to follow him, Wu Shanqing looked for another direction and rushed there. He wanted to complete his awakening first and then make subsequent plans. After all, the preliminary preparations for entering the world of the Flame Bird clan have not yet been completely completed. As time goes by, many students have begun to meet and fight with the Flame Bird tribe. As for the students who started fighting directly, most of them were from the two-person team, and the stronger one had a health value of over 80 points. In this way, they can fight against the level 0 Flame Bird clan when they don't have the talent to awaken. In contrast, students with health points below 80 were practicing near the outpost, bathing in spiritual energy and waiting for awakening to occur. If you want to awaken with this method, it can take as fast as 1 day and as slow as 2 days to succeed. It also means that they only have 1 day to complete the task. If they are too ambitious and do not have a clear understanding of their own strength, they choose intermediate or above tasks. This means that their assessment this time will end with 0 points. Students who have the ability to take on higher level tasks are fighting against time to awaken their talents. The earlier you awaken your talents and become familiar with them, the more time you will have to complete the task. The sooner you complete the mission, the sooner you can start hunting additional flamebirds for extra points. After all, even if the world of the Yanyao tribe is considered safe, it was cleaned and adjusted by specialized people before the exam. But as more and more students awaken, the flamebirds close to the outpost will definitely be killed. If you want to kill more flamebirds and get more points, you have to stay farther away from the outpost and the risk will be higher. Although the awakening assessment has a safety protection mechanism, every time you enter the time-space gate assessment, there is a death standard. The human race is still fighting for survival against the alien world behind countless time and space gates, and every student is a possibility of reserve service. Flowers grown in greenhouses cannot be used on the battlefield even if they are cultivated. About 10 kilometers away from the outpost, two figures were fighting. On one side is Shui Ruyan, who has a tall figure and dances like a dragon with a spear in his hand, and on the other side is the Flame Bird tribe whose whole body is flaming red. Although the flame birds call themselves birds, they cannot fly high and can only jump and glide. This Flame Bird tribe is still at level 0 strength. Judging from the strength and speed, it has the ability to exceed the health value by 90 points. Logically speaking, at this distance from the outpost, you should only encounter the Flame Bird clan with a health value of about 70 at level 0. The Flame Bird tribe was originally far away from Shui Ruyan, but it jumped up high and glided over, grabbing it with sharp claws. Clang, clang, Shui Ruyan quickly retreated, then pointed her gun at it, hitting the Flame Bird tribe's claws and causing sparks. The force brought by swinging the spear also knocked over the swooping Flame Bird tribe, causing it to fall to the side. While you are sick, I will kill you. Seeing the Yanyao clan falling to the side, Shui Ruyan flicked her spear and jumped forward to rush forward. Get aside. A loud shout not far away made Shui Ruyan tremble all over, and she subconsciously obeyed and moved aside. It was at this time that the Flame Bird clan's bags tightened, and blazing flames spurted out, passing by Shui Ruyan's side. Although she was frightened for a while, Shui Ruyan did not miss this opportunity. She immediately arrived in front of the Yanyao tribe and passed the spear directly through the opponent's open mouth that breathed fire. The spear force twisted and crushed the internal organs of the Flame Bird tribe. The opponent finally lost his breath and fell to the ground. Withdrawing the spear, he flicked it suddenly, splattering a trail of blood and debris on the ground. Shui Ruyan relaxed slightly and looked back in surprise at Zhang Tian, who was already setting up a pot to boil water. The location where Zhang Tian and the others are located is right next to the river. The water in the river was clear and clean. Jiang Tian directly filled the river with water in a large pot and carried it back to the simple stove made of stones. At this time, he also knew clearly what fire control was all about. Originally, he still had to put his hand on the bottom of the pot at all times, and the blood surging in his palm ignited and turned into flames. Now there is no need to do this. Just condense the blood into a ball and place it gently under the pot, and it will burn on its own. If the fire is getting smaller, just pour a little more into the burning blood flames. It couldn't be more convenient. Jiang Tian was really satisfied with his awakened talent. This talent was clearly born for his own dreams. Just when Jiang Tian started boiling the water and stood up, he found that Shui Ruyan was still standing there looking at him in a daze. He trotted over, dragged the Flame Bird clan up on the ground, and curiously smoked Shui Ruyan. "Classmate Shui, why are you suddenly stunned here? Didn't you fight well? How did you know it was going to spit fire?" Shui Ruyan finally came back to her senses and followed Jiang Tian to the river. Jiang Tian threw the dead Yanyao tribe into the river, used running water to take away the blood, and plucked out the hair with his bare hands. His strength was terrifying, and he used skillful force when pulling out. With just one stretch of his hand, the Yanyao tribe became completely bald. During the process of plucking the hair, Jiang Tian pointed at the fire sack of the Flame Bird clan. There was suddenly a bright light here, and there was a grunting sound. According to the data, it must be breathing fire. In addition, this Flame Bird clan was knocked to the ground by you, and it was known before that it flapped its wings and bounced off the ground. This time, he was indifferent and kept his head down. He obviously had a hidden agenda. After all, the Yanyao tribe is an intelligent race with deep thoughts, so it's better to pay more attention. Jiang Tian's series of words made Shui Ruyan wake up from a dream. Thinking about it carefully, it seemed that this was really the case. I felt even more frightened in my heart, and thanked Jiang Tian. Fortunately, Mr. Jiang reminded me in time, otherwise I might have been in a worse situation. It doesn't matter, I will take action, Jiang Tian said, taking out the Black Dragon kitchen knife from his waist, and chopped off the head of the Flame Bird tribe with one swipe. Then, Jiang Tian's men moved even faster, disemboweling the Flame Bird in front of him and removing all the internal organs. There are also some corners that have been chopped off, such as bird claws. These things are too hard and you can tell at a glance that they are inedible. After it was almost done, Jiang Tian walked to the side carrying the bird meat. Shui Ruyan followed behind, silent and did not speak. She sensed something was wrong. So relaxing. Even if the Flame Bird tribe is dead, its physical strength is still there. During the fight just now, although his spear could leave scars on the opponent's body, much of the damage was blocked by the hard feathers on the opponent's body. The feathers of the Flame Bird clan are not soft, on the contrary, they are very tough, but in Jiang Tian's hands they are like chicken feathers. When Jiang Tian cut the opponent's body and processed it, he seemed relaxed and comfortable, and it felt like he didn't use much effort. At this time, she saw Jiang Tian walking up to a red tree. The mahogany trees in the world of the Flame Bird tribe are so thick that the one in front of you can be as thick as several people hugging each other. Aha! Suddenly the light of a knife flashed past her eyes, and she saw Jiang Tian seem to wave a kitchen knife at the thick mahogany wood. Immediately afterwards, she saw Jiang Tian in front of him raising his foot and giving him a kick. The redwood trunk seemed to tremble and seemed to stand still in place. The next moment, the entire tree trunk exploded like a cannonball, and scattered wood chips flew into the air. The mahogany tree disappeared, replaced by a wooden stake with a completely cut surface, which Jiang Tian used as a chopping board to place the already white meat of the Yanyao tribe. Looking at the redwood that was kicked away, Shui Ruyan swallowed lightly. If her estimate was good, she could still lift the giant tree with all her strength. But it was so easy for Jiang Tian to lift his foot and kick him out, there was no way he could do it. She imagined for a moment that if this kick were to hit the Yanyao tribe just now, she might be able to kick him to death. At this moment, Shui Ruyan's mind suddenly recalled what Jiang Tian had said. "I will help you get a good ranking. My strength is actually not bad." Thinking of this place, Shui Ruyan suddenly rubbed her forehead and chuckled. This time the team matching is between the strong and the weak. Will you be the weak one after a long time? Looking up again, Shui Ruyan saw Jiang Tian's serious profile. The other person's expression was very focused, and his attention was focused on the bird meat in front of him. The hands were covered with bloody burning flames, wandering over the bird flesh. The fat bird's skin squeaked as it was grilled, and golden fat kept seeping out and dripping onto the large wooden stake. As Shui Ruyan got closer, he could smell the aroma of barbecue. All the racing thoughts in my mind were driven away by this scent. It will take some time to do it well. Classmate Shui, you have to wait a moment. Zhang Tian explained when he saw Shui Ruyan walking over, her hands moving non-stop. As he said that, he turned to Shui Ruyan and smiled. When the time comes, I will have to rely on your divine taste to help me make a good review. Originally, Shui Ruyan was full of questions about Zhang Tian, full of curiosity, and wanted to explore the other person's mystery. But when she saw the other person's sincere smile towards her, she felt as if she had been hit by something, and all her problems were gone like smoke. Just as you pursue a stronger path and prove yourself. The student Zhang in front of him loves the world he longs for and is focused on the dish he wants to complete. At this time, why explore unnecessary topics? I'm looking forward to classmate Yang's next results. It will definitely taste good. Shui Ruyan also smiled. There is no mysterious strong man, he is just classmate Zhang who loves cooking. All she has to do is wait quietly for a taste of the food, give her own suggestions, and help the other party. Zhang Tian was busy next. This time he chose to cook 2 dishes, roasted bird meat and stew. The flame birds are quite big and cannot be stewed in one pot. Choose parts of the wings and legs that are tender and fatty and grill them on skewers. Among them, the big pieces of meat were stomped into pieces. Zhang Tian was blanched in cold water in a pot and then briefly marinated. After checking the base flavor, he started to heat the pot and burn oil. The fat removed from the meat in advance is refined into oil in the pot. Zhang Tian first adds the prepared ginger and garlic and sautés until fragrant, then adds the bird meat. After coloring, add water, season and cover the pot to simmer. The barbecue on the other side is even simpler. Zhang Tian only needs to sprinkle the spices prepared in advance, and the smell will be confusing. What's even more outrageous is that Zhang Tian uses many local materials. He takes huge rocks from the river, condenses the flames of blood and turns them into short flame blades, and cuts them. I made stone pots and bowls, and cut wood into chopsticks and rice ladles. Use the stone pot to cook rice, and then place the bowl, chopsticks, and rice ladle next to the boulder next to the stew pot. The water in the pot has boiled, and juice pops out from the cracks in the stone lid. The barbecue on the side is also sizzling, which is the wonderful music of the spices on it being caramelized as the temperature rises. Coupled with the charming rice fragrance, Shui Ruyan, who was sitting there, couldn't stop drooling. She was in a daze for a while, whether she was taking part in the awakening assessment or going out for an outing. Gulu gulu. When Shui Ruyan watched Zhang Tian pick up the hot stone cover with his ruthless iron hands, there was movement from the boiling soup in the pot. Zhang Tian took out a stone bowl, which contained the gravy he had just prepared. He poured it into the pot and put his hand into the bottom of the pot. Blood energy surged out again, making the flames burning below even more intense. The fire collects juice, thanks to the help of talent. The flames under the pot were extinguished when the juice had just been reduced, leaving only the fragrant aroma gushing out. Not far away, the bird meat was almost roasted. Classmate Shui, please try how it tastes. Is there any improvement? Zhang Tian looked expectantly as he handed the stone bowl filled with rice to Shui Ruyan. Shui Ruyan took the stone bowl and looked at the crystal clear rice grains in the bowl and the alluring rice fragrance. She took a bunch of it and put it into her mouth. Chewing carefully, the texture of this rice is obviously softer, and the unique sweetness is immediately abundant. Is simple rice so delicious? She then picked up a piece of bird meat and put it in a stone bowl. You could see the thick sauce hanging on the meat. Occasionally 2 or 3 drops fell into the rice, soaking the crystal clear rice grains. Shui Ruyan took a bite and her eyes lit up. Is the meat of the flame bird clan so delicious? It has obviously been stewed for a long time, and the meat is not only not old, but also very tender and smooth, and there is still a trace of elasticity when the teeth bite it. The sauce prepared by Zhang Tian is very good, taking into account the suggestions he made last time, and it is not too salty. On the contrary, it brings out the flavor of the bird meat of the flame bird clan, and the most commendable thing is that the bird meat itself has a spicy taste. After chewing for a while, the heat in the bird meat came out. The meat of the flame bird clan is also poisonous when eaten by humans. It is called fire poison. It will invade the body and burn the meridians, and even cause blisters all over the body. Only by refining their flesh and blood into elixirs can the poison of fire be eliminated, but the nutrition will naturally be greatly reduced and the cost will be high. But although the Yaniao bird meat cooked by Zhang Tian had this burning sensation, it did not have any symptoms of fire poisoning. Shui Ruyan's guess was indeed correct. Zhang Tian, as a chef, could remove the poison from alien flesh and blood. Moreover, it will also turn the feeling of toxins into the flavor of the dishes. Thinking of this place, Shui Ruyan picked up the skewers next to her. When she placed the skewers in front of her, she could see that the surface of the grilled chicken wings was already crispy, with fat hanging on it, burnt with spices, and tiny bubbles. I blew it gently and bit off a piece of snow-like smoke. Click. First there was the sound of the crispy crust, and the sound of the teeth clashing with the crispy shell was intoxicating. But as the crispy shell's defense broke down, the spicy and salty tender meat launched an attack with oil, and an unparalleled delicious storm completely bloomed in the mouth. At this time, add a mouthful of white rice to neutralize it. Race the gods. Faced with such delicacies, Shui Ruyan didn't even bother to maintain her reserve and grace in front of Zhang Tian, and ate very quickly. It didn't take long for him to finish all the food he could eat. After eating, Shui Ruyan took a long breath, faced the expectant gaze of Zhang Tian above, nodded and said with certainty, "It's very delicious." Shui Ruyan, who has the taste of a god, is not very picky about food because of her personality. Even if the taste is not good, she can still eat it to be full. But if you can enjoy delicious food, who would refuse it? Boom. At this moment, Shui Ruyan's expression suddenly changed, and the original changes emerged again. There is a huge amount of blood in the body that begins to surge out and flow throughout the body, capable of nourishing one's own body. Moreover, the effect of the meal at home that made the health value exceed 100 points was even more obvious and violent. Shui Ruyan immediately sat cross-legged, trying to refine the rich blood for her own use. It's just that her heart has never been able to settle down. Just when she was at a loss, the voice from Zhang Tian rang in her ears. "I'll be watching over you. It'll be fine. Just concentrate on your cultivation." When Zhang Tian said this, there was still food in his mouth, which was a little unclear. But it was this casual attitude that made Shui Ruyan gradually calm down, relax her body, and immerse herself in the cultivation process. To be precise, it is not a spiritual practice, but an internal practice of breathing and breathing. During this process of internal training, Shui Ruyan could feel that there was a door opening towards her. On Zhang Tian's side, he quickly destroyed the remaining food, one bowl after another of rice, and the meat in the pot disappeared quickly. The redwood skewers stuck on the ground beside them were also quickly destroyed. Instead, Zhang Tian's skin turned red, his whole body was exuding high temperatures, and white mist was rising. The blood abyss furnace skill was running on its own, roaring inside his body. The already domineering body is still being strengthened. The health value is also improving. Also because his body has been strengthened, Zhang Tian can store more and more blood in his body. In addition, the high pressure it can withstand has also been improved. Once the physical furnace is ignited, the fire will burn violently, and the explosive combat power will be even more terrifying. Hiccup. As Zhang Tian burped, all the nutrients were digested, and the skills in his body gradually began to operate at a low frequency. The furnace of the flesh body is extinguishing and cooling, and the skin exuding high temperature is gradually returning to normal. While practicing, the wounds that tore my body were healing, and everything gradually became calmer. The physical strength is increased, the blood value is increased, and the reserves are increased. Now, I should be considered a level 1 awakener, right? Zhang Tian waved his fist slightly and thought, then I will hunt down the level 1 flame bird clan and see if it tastes better. Although this level 0 flame bird family is already very delicious, much better than the chicken, duck and goose in the vegetable market, it is still not as good as the original pig's trotters. Perhaps the strength of the alien race will also affect the flavor of the food itself. Zhang Tian, who had eaten and drank enough, was paying attention to the surroundings while packing up the kitchen utensils. Occasionally, some students would pass by from a short distance away and would be surprised when they saw Zhang Tian cleaning the kitchen utensils. Someone is spying. Zhang Tian frowned, clenched the black dragon knife tightly, and just stood up, but found that the sense of spying disappeared. Illusion. It can't be an illusion. Zhang Tian shook his head gently. If there is such a thing, it cannot be an illusion. Think of Wu Shanqing's actions. Is it possible that they are planning to do something in the awakening assessment? Boom! A dull roar sounded from Shui Ruyan not far away, and she also opened her eyes at this time. His expression was full of joy. She awakened successfully. At this moment, Zhang Tian suddenly appeared in front of her. Classmate Shui, do you have any very powerful treasure, or a special identity that would make people think of ways to deal with you? Zhang Tian's sudden question made her expression slightly change. Shui Ruyan looked at Zhang Tian in surprise. Why did the other party ask this? Did he also investigate herself? When I came to Yu City, there were very few people who knew about it. The Zhang Tian in front of me should not be able to. Classmate Zhang, did something happen? Shui Ruyan asked quickly. Instead of guessing here, it was better to ask directly. Many misunderstandings are caused by mutual suspicion and not speaking out. Zhang Tian explained. I felt someone was spying on us just now, but this feeling disappeared quickly. It is probably just a short confirmation of our whereabouts, and then hiding, which is a very clever way of tracking. Shui Ruyan glanced around. Could it be an illusion? Judging from Wu Shanqing's deliberate provocation of you, there should be a deeper meaning behind it, but we don't know exactly what they are going to do. Zhang Tian shook his head and looked at Shui Ruyan. You are worthy of others taking big risks. Is this the reason for taking action on the occasion of the citywide joint examination? Shui Ruyan was silent for a moment, and finally sighed, yes. Zhang Tian asked again. What are you going to do next? Don't you ask why. Shui Ruyan answered the question. After all, we are just ordinary classmates and temporary teammates, so we are not qualified to inquire into your secrets. Zhang Tian shook his head. Shui Ruyan looked at Zhang Tian carefully, and finally shook her head with a wry smile. Call the examiner, give up the exam, and return to the outpost. Facing Shui Ruyan's answer, Zhang Tian was a little surprised. If he remembers it well, Shui Ruyan attaches great importance to this assessment, so he just gives up. Abandon the exam. Zhang Tian confirmed again. This is just my perception, there is no definite evidence yet. Shui Ruyan nodded. If I were alone, I would not admit defeat and have to give it a try, but you are here. I'm not willing to take this risk and implicate innocent people and take your life. What's more, thanks to you, not only have I awakened my talent, but my profession is also a chi refiner. It's just a joint entrance examination for the whole city. When the college entrance examination comes, we will take everything back. Speaking of this place, Shui Ruyan patted Zhang Tian on the shoulder and comforted him with a smile. Then, Shui Ruyan took out a jade token and suddenly crushed it hard. This is issued together with combat uniforms before departure. Although there is a death indicator, it does not mean that students are allowed to die. Once they are crushed, examiners will come over. There are secretly supervising examiners in each area, with a maximum of 3 examiners. The nearest examiner will definitely rush over immediately. When they follow the examiner to the outpost and register, they will be declared a failure and receive 0 points. Just as Shui Ruyan said, awakening is the real gain, and it is a rare profession like chi refiner. Let me take another look at the surrounding environment to make sure. Zhang Tian said, quickly approaching the place where he just felt the sense of prying eyes. Shui Ruyan also followed Zhang Tian. She found that the other party had a very sensitive sense of smell. She only found clues after turning around 2 or 3 times. They should have been secretly observing from this place, from the same direction. Zhang Tian pointed to the slight scratches on the tree trunk, and then pointed to the pads on the palms of the combat uniform gloves. Then, he pushed aside the most stubborn species in the universe, weeds. Many of them had signs of being broken due to stepping on them. Although the peepers were careful, they were obviously novices and not cautious enough. Shui Ruyan felt weird following Zhang Tian. Didn't the other party aspire to be the best chef? How could he have such keen battlefield experience and perception? But she never imagined that the guy in front of her would never die if he hadn't been so frustrated and took the initiative to die after his parents died of illness in his previous life. How long has it been since the jade metal was crushed to death? Zhang Tian said, looking down at the tactical watch worn on his combat uniform. Tactical watches are specially made using weapon refining techniques to simulate mechanical structures, but are actually driven by blood. It's 32 minutes. Shui Ruyan also checked the time, her expression heavy. She heard the meaning behind Zhang Tian's question. The examiner took too long. It shouldn't be. There were about 3 examiners in one area, and with their speed, it was more than enough. Could it be that in order to deal with you, even the examiner has been taken care of? Zhang Tian raised a terrifying possibility and couldn't help but look in the direction of Shui Ruyan. What's going on with this school beauty classmate? Classmate Zhang, we split into 2 groups and returned to the outpost immediately. Shui Ruyan made a decisive decision and quickly explained to Zhang Tian, their target is me. As long as we are separated, you will be safe. Even if something bad happens to me, at least you can bring the information back. Although Mr. Zhang, you are stronger than I thought, and even stronger than me before your awakening, it is no longer something students like you and I can handle now. Let's go. Shui Ruyan waved towards Zhang Tian with a firm tone. Zhang Tian didn't say a word, just looked at the snow in front of him silently. The other party was pretending to be calm, even though he seemed to have a firm gaze and no fear. But the opponent's hand was holding the handle of the spear so tightly that it was even trembling slightly. Nervous and scared. Come to think of it, regardless of the aura given to the other party, she is just a girl who has just grown up. When we encounter a sudden crisis, we don't even know what the upcoming danger will be. The unknown is the scariest thing. Who would face death so easily? Classmate Shui, your suggestion is very good, but unfortunately there is no way to implement it. Zhang Tian suddenly spoke and looked in the direction not far away. Over there, someone is already approaching. When she saw clearly who was coming, Shui Ruyan's heart immediately fell to the bottom. Wu Shanqing was walking among the visitors, with that iconic hypocritical smile on his face. What made Shui Ruyan feel a little desperate was the 2 people following Wu Shanqing. The 2 of them were wearing black combat uniforms, but one thing that was different from students like them was that the collars and cuffs of their black combat uniforms had bronze trim. Represents their identity, examiner. Moreover, the 2 examiners still had blood stains on their bodies. Shui Ruyan was not stupid. Just with such a glance, she understood the situation. There are 3 examiners in one area. These 2 may have been bribed by Wu Shanqing. As for the other one, judging from the blood stains on their bodies, they looked more likely than not. The most terrible thing, Shui Ruyan also discovered that in the surrounding red giant forest, there were constantly gliding birds of the flame bird clan with flapping wings. In the blink of an eye, a full 15 flame bird tribes surrounded them. Now, it's really hard to fly. Seeing that it was Wu Shanqing and the 2 examiners joining forces with the foreign race, Shui Ruyan immediately understood who was behind it. Shui Ruyan gritted her teeth. Starry Sky Gate. Only scumbags like the Starry Sky sect would choose to join forces with foreign races. Shui Ruyan narrowed her eyes and handed the spear in her hand to Zhang Tian. Zhang Tian subconsciously took the spear, and the next moment he was curious, what are you doing? Shui Ruyan explained. My grandpa spent a lot of money to hire someone to customize this gun. You are stronger, so you should be able to use your strength to find a way to break out and escape. I'm sorry, classmate Zhang, for getting you involved. As soon as the words fell, the blood energy in Shui Ruyan's body suddenly exploded, turning into invisible blood fluctuations, covering Zhang Tian in front of him. Go! Shui Ruyan's face condensed, and she immediately pushed out with a palm. Boom! Zhang Tian, who was shrouded in blood, was immediately ejected and was about to leave the encirclement of the Flame Bird clan. Seeing that Zhang Tian was about to leave the encirclement, Shui Ruyan's eyes showed a little joy and relaxation. At least, the other party will not be implicated because of himself. Classmate Shui, you are too naive. At this moment, Wu Shanqing in front suddenly spoke. Shui Ruyan didn't understand what it meant at first, but the next moment, she understood. In the distant redwood forest, there was a flame bird tribe that jumped up and spit out flames from its mouth, aiming in the direction of Zhang Tian. There were 8 pillars of flames that collided and hit the bloody sphere. Boom! A deafening explosion resounded instantly, and a figure covered in black smoke fell from the sky and landed in the forest in the distance. Zhang Tian! Shui Ruyan couldn't help shouting, and clenched her hands involuntarily. In her mind, Zhang Tian's bright smile and the figure who took his dream seriously appeared in her mind. It's obvious that Zhang Tian's journey has just begun. He has excellent talent, which can fully support him to go further and further on the road of chef and realize his dream. But now, all is lost. The initiator is himself. Why? Shui Ruyan took a deep breath, turned around and angrily asked Wu Shanqing in the distance, since your target is me, why bother killing Zhang Tianjia? Wu Shanqing still had a hypocritical smile on his face. Faced with Shui Ruyan's angry questions, he slowly said, since Shui knows that we are here for you, we can naturally understand that you are worth more while you are alive. Only if you are alive can you use it to control Emperor Lu Zan, your father. But it's not that easy to take a living person like you out of the assessment venue without anyone noticing. But what if there is a coffin? The assessment has a death indicator. It would be best to choose Zhang Tian. His strength is at the bottom and there won't be any accidents. He has no power, no influence, no family background, and no family members will find connections to come to the base to wait for the result. In this way, after he dies, the examiner can more easily transport his coffin. Isn't it wonderful to hide classmate Shui Ruyan in classmate Zhang Tian's coffin? You come in together and you go out together. Wu Shanqing's words made Shui Ruyan tremble all over. She was targeted because of her bastard father. Her eyes were focused on the examiner's side. It was a nice coffin. It looked very simple, but it might have hidden secrets. Otherwise, given the size of this coffin, it would not be able to hold 2 bodies. Boom! At this moment, the blood energy in Shui Ruyan's body completely exploded, and invisible fluctuations emerged. The dust on the ground was swept by the hazy red light and immediately rose up, like a sandstorm on the ground, obscuring everyone's sight. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Shui Ruyan burst out with strength from her feet and sprinted towards the outpost. There is little hope, but she still has to give it a try. Shui Ruyan is definitely not someone who just sits back and waits for death. Whoops! The sound of wind suddenly swept over, and not long after Shui Ruyan rushed out, there was a strong wind. In an instant, the dust was blown away, revealing her figure. The flame bird clan waving its wings is very large. Judging from the aura, it is probably far beyond the first level, maybe the second level. Shui Ruyan's pupils shrank. The world of the flame bird tribe was a restricted and experienced training world after being cleaned up. The entire flame bird clan world is tightly controlled. The most powerful flame bird clan is only at level 2. Once it reaches level 3, it will be killed. Therefore, the examiners responsible for the examination this time are also level 2 veterans. But Shui Ruyan herself has just entered the first level, let alone the rebellious examiner of the second level, or the second level flame bird tribe. The level 1 flame bird clan around them had obviously strong auras, and their health values far exceeded mine, making them unable to resist. Shui Ruyan, who had not rushed too far, was stopped by a flame bird tribe. Although this flame bird clan was only at level 1, when his wings waved, the terrifying force made a sharp whistling sound. Boom! The wings hit Shui Ruyan's abdomen, sending her flying back. After rolling on the ground several times, she managed to stabilize her body. Ahem! Shui Ruyan coughed violently, and thick blood spurted out from her mouth, dyeing her lips bright red. The ponytail was spread over the face, mixed with sweat and dirt, and looked very messy. Aha! At this moment, Wu Shanqing in the distance suddenly waved his hand and threw something this way. It was a pair of bracelets that flew over and immediately locked onto Shui Ruyan's wrists, sealing them directly. After sensing it for a moment, Shui Ruyan fell into despair. Not only can't you escape, you can't even commit suicide. Her meridians were sealed and her blood was frozen. Human, the deal is completed. According to the agreement, you will bring the descendants of our clan to the clan world. At this time, the second level Yanyao clan suddenly spoke human words. On the side, the flame bird tribe came forward, holding nests woven from mahogany branches in their mouths, with red eggs inside. Don't worry, you Yaniao clan have made great achievements this time, and the Red Eagle clan will recognize your actions. Don't talk about letting your clan spread out again and live freely in the world of the Red Eagle clan. It is not impossible for your Yaniao clan to get rid of the Starry Skylock and return to the world. Wu Shanxing smiled and looked at Shui Ruyan, who was kneeling on the ground beside him. After all, Emperor Lu Zan, who is currently attacking the world of the Red Eagle clan, is her father. Using her as a bargaining chip will not only allow the Red Eagle clan to make a comeback from a desperate situation, but it will even bring unexpected gains. Shui Ruyan's whole body trembled slightly. She didn't expect that the other party's purpose was actually this. If so, she would become a sinner of the human race. No matter how dissatisfied she was with that bastard father, she had to admit that that man was a hero of the human race after all. What he did was also for the great cause of the human race. As a result, Shui Ruyan was even more unable to forgive herself. In private, she killed classmate Zhang Yugong. She harmed the human race. Obviously I want to work hard to achieve great results. Why? Tears of reluctance slipped from the corners of Shui Ruyan's eyes. Before Shui Ruyan sheds tears, the Yaniao tribe, which had just breathed fire and shot down Zhang Tian, had already gone deep into the forest to look for the body of the human student. According to the cooperation plan, this dead human race is a top priority and must be captured. One of the flame birds was lucky and quickly found Zhang Tian's location. It chirps, calling friends and letting them come closer. Then it will step forward to observe Zhang Tian's life and death. Before he even got close, he saw the figure that was puffing out black smoke, and a carp jumped up from the ground. Classmate Shui really took matters into his own hands and scared me. Zhang Tian twisted his neck and made a clicking sound. I have to admit that the profession of qi refiner is very powerful, and qi can be used in two ways at the same time. Zhang Tian didn't know whether the other party's behavior just now was her special talent or a unique skill. It seems that my physical fitness has improved a lot. Zhang Tian lowered his head and glanced at the combat uniform, which was not too damaged, and then looked at the skin. The explosion caused by the series of fire pillars burning just now only made him feel his body shaking and his skin feeling slightly hot. Other than that, there is no other feeling. It is equivalent to being unscathed. Obviously after awakening and being promoted to level 1, his strength has greatly improved. At this time, Zhang Tian suddenly turned his head and met the eyes of the Yaniao tribe who were catching up. Zhang Tian was a little surprised that the other party actually caught up with him. If their goal is Shui Ruyan, they shouldn't focus their energy on themselves. It seems that I am also a part of the plan, Zhang Tian thought in his mind. At the same time, the Yaniao clan noticed that after Zhang Tian got up, he nailed the spear in his hand to the ground and was thinking about something. It was filled with unknown anger, and this human student simply ignored it. Court death. Thinking of this, the Flame Bird clan immediately rushed forward, its wings vibrating as it sprinted, and its speed became faster and faster. When he got close to Zhang Tian, he took on a gliding posture and raised his claws to disembowel the human student in front of him. Anyway, the other party only wanted his body, so it should be okay to just eat his heart and liver, right? After all, the human heart and liver are so delicious to their family. The taste of the human race at this age is even more intoxicating. Aha! The light of the sword flashed, and the Yaniao tribe did not notice the touch of the sharp claws digging into their flesh. Instead, they felt as if something was missing. It didn't know that something was missing until it saw two bird claws flying out in front of its eyes. Before it could even react to what happened, the student in front of it had already grabbed its neck. The words in the other party's mouth were more like the whispers of a devil. It happens that the claws are inedible, so it's good to just chop them off. It's just food, how dare you arrest someone? I'm afraid I'm going to have to fight for a while, so I might as well eat you and save some extra health in advance. Boom! Blood energy instantly spurted out from Zhang Tian's palm, turning into bright red flames and sweeping across the body of the Flame Bird clan. The terrifying high temperature immediately swept through the entire body of the Yaniao tribe. Zhang Tian held the Flame Bird clan in front of him with one hand, and the black dragon sword in the other hand opened the belly and removed the internal organs without any slow movement. The red feather fell and was collected by Zhang Tian, while the other feathers of the Yaniao tribe were burned to ashes. Soon, the aroma of roasted chicken gradually hit my nostrils. In the redwood forest, other flame bird tribes have gradually rushed over. They all heard the cries of their kind and acted collectively according to the plan. In fact, before the plan was formulated, according to the intelligence coming from the human race boy they were targeting was very weak. Any one of them can be easily controlled. Just as we were gradually approaching the target location, why was there this smell of meat? No, that idiot probably roasted someone. It's not impossible, that guy is the greediest. It's best to only eat the heart and liver, and don't eat everyone else, otherwise something bad will happen. These flame birds communicated in unique bird language and quickly flapped their wings and rushed forward. After they rushed to their destination, their bodies stagnated, as if the pause button had been pressed. A crisp, crunching sound kept coming from the front. Their target, the human high school boy, was right ahead. Among the intelligence, there is a boy who is extremely weak and can be manipulated at will. He was holding the fellow who was still dripping with oil in his hand, and the tangy meat smell came from the fellow's body. If you look carefully, you can clearly see that the members of the same species who send messages for them to come over, who are usually extremely gluttonous, are already ripe for it. As for the crisp and shattering sound, it came from the mouth of the man in front of him. The other party kept eating bite after bite of their own kind, even breaking and chewing the bones. The man in front of him was like a humanoid glutton, and their kin gradually disappeared into each other's mouths. And while the other party was devouring it, his skin turned red and high-temperature heat steamed up. The rising white mist of water vapor gradually covered the opponent's figure, and his blood-filled pupils looked scarlet in the white mist. It was like an ancient ferocious beast, hiding in the mist, staring at their prey. Especially the other party's words suddenly sounded at this time, as if they were whispering in their ears. "I'm not too full." As the sound emerged, one of the flame bird tribes flapped its wings crazily and prepared to escape without thinking. But just when it turned its head, it saw the greasy-mouthed human male high school student who blocked its way. The other party is still laughing. Poof! The Yaniao tribe felt pain, and when they looked down, they saw a kitchen knife in the opponent's hand, piercing it through the neck. Blood spurts. If there were other human beings around, they would be able to recognize that Zhang Tian's method was obviously killing chickens and bleeding them. The dignified Yaniao tribe were like chickens in front of Zhang Tian at this moment. The shrill chirping of birds kept coming from the redwood forest. These flame bird tribes panicked and fled towards the direction of the large army. As they got closer, the movement was also transmitted to Wu Shanqing and the others. "What's the sound?" At first, Wu Shanqing didn't hear it clearly, but he just noticed that there was a lot of movement in the redwood forest ahead. Thick smoke kept rising, as if the flame birds were breathing fire randomly and burning the redwood. Not long after, the redwood forest where Zhang Tian fell was filled with fire and black smoke billowing. It was at this time that Wu Shanqing and the other Yaniao tribe heard the noise clearly. The screams, the extremely miserable screams of the flame bird clan, were heard constantly from the forest. Shui Ruyan, who was kneeling on the ground and still in despair, slowly straightened up at this moment, with a look of excitement in his eyes. She turned back quickly, praying wildly in her heart. "Has help arrived? Student Zhang, have you been rescued? Don't let anything happen to you." Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.